Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Canadian Fall Prevention Virtual Conference, Day 2. I'm Kimberly Willison, your moderator for today's sessions. Before we get started, I have some quick housekeeping items to run through. We have muted each of you, but we encourage you to use the Q&A box to ask any questions that you may have. There will be time for questions at the end of the presentation today. We have our IT team standing by in case of any technical difficulties. Please let us know in the chat box or if you're having any trouble with any visuals or sound. There will be a short survey at the end of the session. We would really appreciate your feedback. We would like to begin by acknowledging the Parachute Office is situated upon traditional territories. The territories include the Wendat, the Anishinaabeg, Wendat, Anishinaabeg, Haudenosaunee, Métis, and the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nation. As this conference is taking place virtually, we would like to invite all attendees to learn and reflect on what First Nations, Inuit, and/or Métis land their offices or homes might be located on at native-nland.ca. We would also like to thank our gold sponsor, Brown Healthcare, home of Hit Saver Canada, the exclusive Canadian distributor of the world's leading hip protector, for their generous support of the Canadian Fall Prevention Virtual Conference. You can check out your delegate package for more information on them. Now let's begin day 2 of the conference. This marks part of one of our focus of the topic of falls among older adults. We have 3 wonderful presentations in store for you for over the next hour. Each presentation will be approximately 15 minutes in length with time for Q&A afterwards. It's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Christine McDonald. Christine McDonald is an occupational therapist employed by Prairie Mountain Health located in Western Manitoba. During her 24-year career working with adults and seniors, she has practiced in a variety of the health authorities settings, providing direct client care, including the Center of Geriatric Psychiatry, mental health services for the elderly, home care, long-term care, and acute care. Her latest role involved working as a health promotion coordinator, focusing on falls prevention for seniors, which included the development of a community falls prevention exercise program. She has participated in the Health Authority's Falls Prevention Steering Committee since 2015. Please welcome Christine McDonald for her presentation on Stepping Up with Confidence, plus the development and delivery of a community falls prevention exercise program. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Can everyone see my slides? Kimberly?
I can't see your slides right now.
Okay. Share screen.
It looks like it's about to start. There we go, Christine, it's working now.
Oh, phew. From beginning.
There we go.
Slides are there, and can you hear me?
We can hear you and see your slides, Christine.
Super. Sorry about that. Good morning, everybody. According to Prairie Mountain Health's 2019 Community Health Assessment, our leading cause of injury hospitalizations at 52% is due to unintentional falls. This is higher than the provincial rate. The population of Prairie Mountain Health is just under 171,000 in June of 2018 and accounted for 12.6% of the Manitoba population. What is concerning to us is that our residents experience 18% of the documented falls in Manitoba. 15.5% of Prairie Mountain Health's population is over the age of 65. Prairie Mountain Health is in the western part of Manitoba. It extends north to the 53rd parallel, is bordered by Saskatchewan to the west, Lake Manitoba to the east, and North Dakota to the south. There are 2 cities in Prairie Mountain Health and endless small towns and communities. In 2016, our Falls Prevention Committee worked to develop community care universal falls prevention interventions. We adopted the slogan, "Move your body, improve your health, and remove hazards and obstacles." So all that being said, in December 2018, when Manitoba Health, Active Living and Seniors, MHSAL, provided a funding opportunity to develop a seniors falls prevention exercise program in each health authority, it was welcomed by Prairie Mountain Health. PMH determined that a program developer would lead this project through the health promotion program to ensure a clear vision. As per MHSAL's expectation of scope, schedule, and budget, our Community Falls Prevention Program description and development plan and projected budget were submitted March 31st, 2019. A summary report was delivered to the department on September 30th, 2019, and the final report, including evaluation data and final budget and our findings, were submitted December 30th, 2019. Strength and balance were factors that MHSAL studied to be strong contributors to fall prevention, and therefore were set as an expectation of scope. Additional factors were to have 2 to 3 classes per week that were 45 to 60 minutes of exercise, and to have 40% of class time dedicated to balance and strength exercises. Existing fall prevention exercise programs such as OTEGA, LIFE, Falls Proof, and FAME were provided as program options, but health authorities were not limited to these choices. As I reviewed the expectations and requirements for this initiative, our team agreed that we did not need to implement a new or different program, but we could grow the Stepping Up with Confidence program that we already had in place. This program was originally implemented in Prairie Mountain Health in 2015. The Stepping Up with Confidence program began as a pilot project in Winnipeg in 2004. It was designed to reduce the high rate of falls amongst older adults. Many organizations provided support and development for the program and expanded the program rurally. Stepping Up with Confidence is designed as a volunteer, peer-led exercise program that encourages older adults living in the community to improve overall health and well-being by becoming more physically active. The program reduces barriers often experienced by older adults, such as the cost and accessibility, and to participate in an exercise program. The program includes warm-up, cardiovascular exercises, cool down, muscular strength and endurance, balance, and flexibility. The exercise classes are free of charge and are held in a location close to home. The sustainability of the program is financially viable in PMH because of the volunteer peer leaders. In 2015, Prairie Mountain Health was strategic in their goal of financial sustainability of Stepping Up with Confidence and decided to support the training of 3 health promotion coordinators with degrees in kinesiology to be trained by the Wellness Institute. As a result, we would not have to rely on the Wellness Institute in Winnipeg to travel to our region for training new peer leaders. PMH engaged in multiple partnerships in the development and delivery of the Stepping Up with Confidence program, including primary healthcare, health promotion and community development, PMH Falls Prevention Steering Committee, services to senior supervisors, resource councils and coordinators, Stepping Up with Confidence trainers, and our population health planner analyst. Additionally, our dedicated peer leaders have developed strong community relations, which have maintained programs in communities at no or minimal cost to the participants over the years. Through the financial support of this initiative, PMH expanded the Stepping Up with Confidence program's offerings to fund equipment such as weights, resistant bands, and step benches. An extensive literature review was completed to collate participant educational material that leaders could share regarding falls prevention. The growth of the program for the initiative became Stepping Up with Confidence Plus. An evaluation framework was provided by MHSAL to assess how the exercise program contributed to the strength and balance among senior participants in an effort to prevent falls. We used the evaluation questions as a way to develop a program which met all the requested expectations. Research provided to us indicated that to influence balance exercises should be engaged in 2 to 3 times per week. Our team did not think that we could expect our leaders to lead 3 classes a week, as that expectation isn't sustainable. As a result, leaders agreed to 2 classes per week, and home exercise programs for balance were developed for participants to complete outside of class time. This was practical from a human resource point of view, but also demonstrated to participants that the balance exercises can be easily completed at home with no equipment. We wanted our pilot sites to represent the diverse nature of our health region. After an environmental scan was completed, we selected our pilot sites. For the pilot project, we were able to train 8 peer leaders for 3 pilot sites. 2 leaders at each site allowed for low leader to participant ratios and allowed for coverage if a leader had another commitment, short notice cancellation, or illness. We believe that having 2 leaders trained at each site would decrease or eliminate the need to cancel classes. It was important to us that peer leaders be well connected to each other and their community supports, as well as the health promotion team. We wanted leaders and participants to have fun and feel energized with Stepping Up with Confidence Plus. Pilot site leaders agreed to 2 classes per week for up to 11 weeks, or the maximum length the participants could accommodate. At the 2-day training workshop, the pilot site peer leaders were led through the facilitator's training and shown how to administer the 3 selected participant evaluations. Exercises appropriate for the additional equipment were also demonstrated. There was a total of 45 participants, all female. 5 participants did not complete the program. The average participant age was 75.6 years old, and participants range from age 66 to 91. Stepping Up with Confidence Plus classes were held in senior centers and within a seniors apartment complex. Physical accessibility of the building was considered before confirming the locations. We chose 2 additional evaluation tools, including the activity-specific Balance Confidence Scale and the Timed Up and Go test to support the participant survey issued by MHSAL to evaluate the effect of the Community Falls Prevention Exercise Program. The ABC scale is a tool designed to measure an older adult's confidence in their ability to perform daily activities without falling. There are 16 self-scored items. The range is 0 to 100%, scored at 10% increments for their perceived level of self-confidence. Fear of falling is important to assess as it influences a person's level of activity and performance. Compromised balance and fear of falling will result in further activity restriction. The overall percentage of self-confidence rose at all 3 sites, at all 3 testing intervals. The initial median score for overall percentage of self-confidence was 80%. At midterm, it rose to 82.8%, and at the final, the evaluation was 88.1%. We thought this was a notable improvement as the maximum evaluation period was only 11 weeks. The Timed Up and Go test is a screening tool used to test basic mobility skills, both static and dynamic, of frail elderly clients. The Timed Up and Go test indicated that 84% of TUG test scores recorded had an improvement or a decrease in their TUG time from the initial to the final. The total group TUG test median score improved from 10.68 seconds down to 9.24 and down again to 8.98. That's a total decrease of 1.7 seconds. The participant survey questions allowed for PMH to evaluate and provide results and information to MHSAL regarding the degree that our exercise program had contributed to strength and balance of the participants, with the goal of fall prevention. It also evaluated the quality of the program, leaders, and location. The following are samples of our collected responses. As a result of this program, I have gained better strength and balance. Total midterm results indicated that 91% recorded a positive response to this statement. This remained high at the final evaluation where there was 88% in agreement. As a result of this program, I have increased my knowledge about the importance of strength and balance in preventing falls. Total midterm results showed 64% in agreement, and at the final, 96% were in agreement. As a result of this program, I have learned new information and skills to prevent falls. 96% were in agreement with the statement at the final evaluation. As a result of this program, I am less worried about falling. At midterm, 57% agreed or strongly agreed with this statement, while at the final evaluation, 81% agreed or strongly agreed. I would recommend this exercise program to others. 71% agreed or strongly agreed with the statement at midterm, while at the final evaluation, participants were 100% in agreement. Results indicated that the peer leaders were perceived as well equipped to deliver the program and were able to provide satisfactory information. In the fall of 2019, 2 additional peer leader training workshops were funded through this initiative. They were delivered by the Health Promotion Stepping Up with Confidence Plus trainers and trained 42 additional leaders in hopes of launching this program in numerous additional communities. The training occurred in 2 geographical zones to minimize participant travel. The peer leaders trained at this time represented communities from all of our 17 districts. After this pilot project, we had great aspirations to grow the program. COVID-19 put quite a damper on that. However, one of our innovative team members created a series of 4 Stepping Up with Confidence YouTube videos with our peer leaders and participants. This was promoted to the community. Feel free to join our classes. In conclusion, PMH is very pleased with the Community Falls Prevention Exercise Program that has been developed. We feel that we have an accessible, sustainable program that can be adapted to a wide range of fitness levels while maintaining the focus on balance and strength. The social supports amongst group members has been an additional hidden gem of the program. We continue to expand this program with MHSAL's initiative funding through the 2020 calendar year. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Christine. That was a great presentation. Just a reminder, you can put your questions into the Q&A at any time. We will leave our Q&As to the very end though. So I'll be directing questions to the speakers when we wrap up. I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Phyllis Hegstrom has been a member of the Homestead Senior Care Team since 2000. She has served as Vice President of Human Resources and for the past 12 years has been Director, Government Affairs for the United States of Canada. Phyllis is committed to advocating for seniors and influencing public policy and public opinion by harnessing the grassroots efforts of the Homestead Senior Care Network through the United States and Canada. And she has been instrumental in introducing a resolution to heighten awareness of the need for senior care as well, and legislative bills in both the U.S. House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate to support family caregivers. In Canada, she has supported advocacy for a United Nations Convention on the rights of the older person and for the importance of privately retained home care as an option. Currently, Phyllis serves on the Legislative Committee for the Home Care Association of America, the IFA Legislative Action Group, the Homestead Foundation Canada Board, and the Canadian Franchise Association Advocacy Council. That sounds like more than one person's roles, Phyllis. Please welcome Phyllis Hegstrom for her presentation on care communities and opportunity for upstream falls prevention. Thank you, Phyllis.
Thank you, Kimberly. I don't see my slide. Oh, here we go. I don't see my slides.
They're up now, Phyllis.
I still don't see them.
We can see them, Phyllis.
Okay, but it seems like I should see them if I'm going to talk to them, but
yeah.
This was a bit of a quirk beforehand. But... All right, I'll just go. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Phyllis Hegstrom, and I am Government Affairs Director for Homestead, which is headquartered in Omaha, Nebraska, USA. Next slide. Homestead is a global provider of in-home care for aging adults with over 1,100 independently owned and operated franchises in 14 countries around the world. This gives us firsthand experience in caring for the aging population in different cultures. In Canada, there are 43 Homestead locations across 7 provinces. Our services include non-medical support and support with activities of daily living and IADLs, and what we call our expanded scope of care, which is primarily nursing and nursing care assisting. Our vision is changing the face of aging, meaning a more hopeful and positive outlook on life. Next slide. Homestead was founded in 1994 by Paul Hogan and his wife Lori on the belief that relationship-based care could make a big difference in the lives of aging adults. And to be effective at this, we needed to spend time with our clients. For those reasons, our care is person-centered, outcomes-based, supportive, and responsive to the evolving needs of our clients. We find when aging adults have the support they need, they can stay at home, and home is where they want to be. Public funded care is typically more task-oriented, whereas our care is more comprehensive and can be as comprehensive as including grocery shopping, running errands, or even picking up a bottle of wine for the client. All things we wouldn't want our government to pay for. Next slide, I think. As you well know, falls are all too common among people over the age of 65. Falls are hard on people and often a pivotal event in the overall decline of an aging adult. Falls are also very costly to the healthcare system, and falls are often a predictor of admission to a facility-based care. We spend a lot of time training and educating our caregivers on the risk of falls, and we share that information with our clients and their families as well. Next slide. One of the big predictors of falls is social disconnection. By social disconnection, we mean a family of problems that can create a real sense or a perceived sense of disconnection. One being disconnection from family and friends. That can create a sense of loneliness and isolation. I think of the many seniors who are living alone right now, feeling shut in during this pandemic. That's got to be hard for them. Another is disconnection from purpose in life. This could be when our children are grown and leave home and no longer need us, or when we retire from a career that has been a big part of our life. Times like this, we find ourselves asking, what's the purpose in life? And what do we do now? Another is disconnection from community or a sense of belonging. This can create a perceived sense of lack of availability of support. And it can be very traumatic for older people who move from a home they've lived in for many years. This could be to move closer to family or because they need to move to a long-term care facility. Either way, they find themselves in strange surroundings and feeling very disconnected. This lack of social connection is widely considered to be the next major public healthcare crisis. As many as a third of older people are lonely and socially isolated. This can be from the result of losing a partner or the death of a family member, or even when older people can no longer drive and get out and about. They can become feeling isolated very quickly and begin feeling lonely and depressed. In terms of risk magnitude, social isolation is worse for health and life outcomes than smoking 15 cigarettes a day or being obese. Next slide. And does this one say social disconnection?
Yes, it does.
Perfect, on it. Social disconnection affects 43% of older adults, and this statistic is even before COVID. Social disconnection can lead to isolation and depression alone can increase the risk of falls to as much as 47%. Research shows reducing socialization and disconnectedness can also reduce the risk of falls, especially in older adults who suffer from depression. So, next slide. We knew our relationship-based care was making a difference. We were helping people stay motivated and engaged. Families tell us all the time how much they appreciate the time we spend with their loved ones and the difference it is making in their lives. It's nice to get this good feedback, however, we could not prove it other than anecdotally. Other times, a family caregiver might call and say, Mom only needs a short visit, maybe less than an hour, because she needs help getting dressed, tidying up the house, and having time to have a cup of tea with Mom before we leave. These callers tend to not understand that they think that anything unnecessary is anything beyond the task we do is unnecessary. So they can tend to question the amount of time we spend, which in our case is a minimum of 3 hours a visit. However, we know we need that much time to not be rushed and to provide the person-centered care that we do. Still, it can be hard to prove that our 3 hour minimum is worth it. Next slide. No, beg your pardon. Back to slide 7. Sorry. This is one of those that I knew I was speaking more of because it's so important. You may have heard about the Catalyzing Care Community Initiative. Our Windsor office has been involved in this work since 2015, and we've recently adopted a special survey from this initiative to expand our existing onboarding assessment to measure the quality of life. Clients are asked if they want to participate in this survey assessment, and if so, they complete a survey that addresses quality of life indicators such as personal well-being, personal support, perceived support, and caregiver burden. If need be, the caregiver or the family or the homestead supervisor can assist the client in filling out the survey. However, the information should reflect the client's feelings and their outlook on life. This makes it more their own and not our assessment of them. Once the survey is complete, the client receives a personalized report within a few minutes, highlighting the strengths, things to work on, and any serious issues. They share that report with the caregiver, who together they can work on improving the things that are important to the client. The caregiver continues to coach and encourage the client to work on the things that she specified were important to her on the original assessment. Because we care, we are also tracking client falls and other notable health events, so we can begin to build the linkage between. This is all client-centric work, and we are there to empower the client to do the work. 90 days later, the client does the survey again and receives that report in minutes. At this point, we expect to see an improvement from the first 90 days of care, and we can also learn what we can do even better. We'll have to come back and share those results with you. Next slide. I would like to tell you a bit more about the Catalyzing Care community and that bigger overall initiative. This has been piloted in our Windsor office and has proven to be an efficient, flexible, and scalable approach that measurably improves the quality of life for vulnerable individuals. This also has high potential to reduce the healthcare risk over time. The CCC relies on specially trained volunteers, also known as citizen coaches, to identify and realize the client's goals. It's an upstream strategy, and it has 6 standard processes. I'll touch on all 6 because they are that important. First being understanding the quality of life, using the neighbor survey that we just talked about and that Homestead is using. Then getting that feedback that helps coach and plan our action planning for improvement. Next, connecting people with social and community resources. And then routinely tracking those connections and the outcomes and the results of those experiences. Another is using data to create new opportunities to meet the needs of the client. And lastly, encouraging neighborhood exchanges of talents and services to help others to build community capacity for more care. We believe this exchange of time and talent to help others will only build a stronger sense of community and build the world's capacity to care, one community at a time. Next slide. This just shows that the work is evidence-based and supported by a team of researchers from 4 universities. Next. The data from CCC shows improved quality of life on those quality of life indicators I've mentioned, such as self-rated health and self-rated mental health, personal well-being, perceived availability of support, and perceived loneliness, social contact, and participation in meaningful activities. As this approach scales and links with the health community through primary care and community health-centered data, there will be good information on the risk of falls and the impact from addressing disconnectedness. And of course, we hope to prove out that the impact of our relationship-based care makes a difference and improves social disconnection, and in so doing, reduces the risk of falls. Next. Individuals are unique, and each community is distinctive in its strengths and assets. We do not look for deficiencies to fix, but rather, our approach is to learn about people and their goals and their aspirations, and to work with them so they can reach those goals and aspirations. This approach is working for us, and through this care philosophy and collaboration with our communities, we can build connections to people, to services, and to the resources they need to improve their quality of life. Had we been at a live conference today, and doing a workshop together, I would have invited you to discuss the principles, opportunities, and potential of addressing social disconnection as a means of improving well-being and reducing the risk of falls. I would have also asked you for your thoughts on potential policy recommendations that will support the shift upstream to social connection activities as a means of reducing falls. I am grateful to the conference organizers for the chance to tell you about this approach to falls prevention, and I can tell you the homestead owners using this are very excited. I invite you to think about this and would welcome your suggestions or comments to my email. Next slide. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Phyllis. Really appreciate that. And Michael, if you want, you can share my video. Our third speaker is Dory Cron. Dory is in her 12th year as a community relations coordinator with the Saskatoon Fire Department. Her primary responsibilities include the Remembering When program, which provides fire safety and falls prevention education for older adults, fire safety education and tours for businesses, newcomers, and schools, events that the SFD attends or hosts, and representing the department in the community. On a personal level, Dory loves outdoor adventures, yoga, cooking, and knitting. She has been married for the last 34 years, and together they have 2 children, 2 in-laws, and 3 grandchildren. Currently, Dory's parents are 91 and 92 and are a driving force in helping older adults live safely at home. Please welcome Dory Cron for her presentation on Remembering When, fire departments working to prevent fire and falls. Welcome, Dory.
Thank you so much. Yeah, like Kimberly said, I'm Dory and I work for the Saskatoon Fire Department. Now, it might be a question of everybody out there is what does the fire department actually have to do with fall prevention? So our fire department, next slide. Our fire department actually has been lifting people since 2007. So a lot of people don't understand that fire departments do many other things than just fight fires. So lift assist, which is what we call it, is when we go in and lift somebody who's fallen and can't get up on their own. It makes particular sense for fire departments to do this kind of thing because our firefighters are primary care paramedics. And that allows them to make the appropriate designation or appropriate assessment beforehand to make sure that somebody is safe to lift somebody, and then the appropriate assessment to see if they need more additional care. So as you can see from this slide, the number of lift assists that our department has been going to has been increasing over the last number of years. So my question is, why include the fire services? And the answer is because we are often the first ones on scene to actually discover the fall. So like I said, we've been doing lift assist since 2007, and in 2017 started the Remembering When program to help people by preventing those falls. So we tried a number of other ways to get people the assistance that they obviously needed with varying degrees of success, and so jumped on Remembering When. What is Remembering When? Remembering When is a fire safety and fall prevention program for older adults that was designed by the National Fire Protection Association and covers 8 fire safety and 8 fall prevention messages using group presentations and home visits. That's in a nutshell. So our goal at Saskatoon Fire is to make sure that everyone we lift gets help before we've lifted them 5 times. That doesn't mean that we only start getting them the help after the 5th time. We start on the 1st time. We just like to have a reasonable goal that is attainable. How do we get there? What is the process and what is the steps that we take to be able to get people the help that they need? The first one, I like to describe our program as proactive, reactive, and then proactive again. The first part, the first proactive part, is where we are out preventing the very first fall. We do this through group presentations and home visits. And then after a home visit, we're going to do a follow-up call within 3 months, and just to see if they've been able to implement any of the suggestions that we left during that home visit. Next, we're going to move to the reactive part, which is where we are there as a fire department actually lifting someone up. So when they fall and they need the help, the fire department is there to lift them up. Then right away, even at that lift assist, we are going to move back to the proactive part, which is preventing the very next fall. So when we're there at a lift assist, we're going to ask people if they would like to sign consent for us to forward their contact information to the local health authority. And the people that don't, then we're going to follow up with the Remembering When program, which would be follow-up phone calls and home visits, all to make sure that everyone gets the help that they need. So one of the other things that we do is we demonstrate how to get up off the floor. We use the guidelines published by the Public Health Agency of Canada, and we will demonstrate this at all of our presentations and most of our home visits. It's a rewarding work because when we do the evaluation, we have people that tell us they've been able to get up after they fell, be using the tips and that we show them, and they've been able to actually make it, which I always tell them is like getting the Olympic gold medal. So because we know this is so important, we've actually created 2 videos. One is how to get up if you've fallen, and the other one is how to assist somebody up. So we're just assisting them. We're not actually lifting them when we're teaching people in the community how to do it. Firefighters actually are lifting them. So the way our program is designed is that we work with partners. And I think you hear that all morning long, is that partnerships are so important. We started our program with the Saskatoon Council on Aging, and they've been a wonderful partner to get us access to people, but also to help us find those quality volunteers. We work with the Saskatchewan Health Authority, and those are the people that we're going to refer our clients to when they sign consent for more robust help. We actually work with the exercise programs that our health authority has as well. And then we attend falls conferences, which are just a 15-minute conference focused on one person, and everybody involved with their care is phoning in nowadays. And we are talking about them. So when the fire department has lifted somebody and the consents are in place, we are part of that conference and have a different perspective to offer and valuable information to bring. We've also got a partnership with the University of Saskatchewan College of Nursing. They've done a research project that we're just finishing off right now, and it looks at the effectiveness of the Remembering When program, is also with quality improvements that need to be happening. And then we've got partnerships throughout our community with Saskatoon Services for Seniors or home healthcare agencies like Home Instead or Bayshore. And those are the people that we want those partnerships with, so that we can recommend when we recommend changes or help for people, we have somebody that they can go to. So the last important piece is that we have volunteers, and we worked hard to nurture those volunteers. We have 15 volunteers, and 12 of the 15 are retired healthcare professionals. And 14 of the 15 are older adults. So they're there making a difference in their community. I mentioned that we have this research project going on. So what does the research say? First of all, 43% of the people that we lift will sign consent for their information to be forwarded to the health authority. That leaves 57 for us to do as part of our Remembering When program. 68% of the suggestions that are made during a home visit are followed. So if you remember, when we're doing those home visits, we go through and we work together with the person to understand what they might need and then offer suggestions. Then that 3-month follow-up call, that's when we're doing the evaluation of whether they've been able to implement those suggestions. Now, one of the interesting facts is that exercise more is one of the most often recommended recommendation, but it is the one that people have the most trouble following. So that will be a focus for us in the future going forward, finding a way to improve that. So 77% of the people that we lift are over 70 years old, and you can see that it really goes up at 80, in the 80 and 90s. That's where the bulk of the people that we lift are. Now we're talking about the number of times that we lift a person in a year. So 70% of the people, we lift them only one time a year and then they get help. Another 17% of the people, we lift them 2 times and then they're able to, that's all the lifts that they need for that year. And then it goes from there and it gets much smaller. So next slide I want to tackle is just the one that says 5+ lifts, which are the people that obviously shot over our goal, which is fine. We're still there to lift people. So 79% of the people appeared on that list only 1 year. And then 18% of the people appeared on that list 2 years. Now they weren't necessarily 2 years in a row. Sometimes they appeared in 2017, not 2018, and then again in 2019. So we can assume that there was help they received. They were able to not need lifts during 1 year and then needed those lifts again, maybe because of more deterioration and more assistance needed. So 3% of the people we have been on all lifts. And as you can imagine, I know those people because they, I've phoned them and I visited with them, but these are people with chronic healthcare conditions that they've had for decades. And they've decided that it's worthwhile to live with the risks that are there for them. And they're going to, and they know that falls are a part of that. So what are some of the benefits of our program of Remembering When? So the benefits to the older adults. So our program is all about the older adults. Our goal could have been to reduce the number of lift assists that our fire department has done. That never happened. Our goal is for the older adults. And so this program helps them to remain in their homes longer by improving their fire safety and by suggesting modifications that will prevent falls. Our program also, this is really important, helps people to make the changes that are needed seem manageable. And we do that through referrals, or we do that through, if there's an exercise that's being recommended, then we give them a little package, an exercise package with a TheraBand and some exercise sheets. If they need more lighting between their bedroom and their bathroom, then we're going to do that. We've got little night lights that are battery operated, and you can flick them up and down and put them on a spot in your wall that's convenient for you. So we try to make everything seem manageable for our people so that they can make those changes. Remembering When has been described as more than just a safety program, because we're there not just preventing falls, we're helping people the whole way through. And once you start falling, we don't ever give up on you. We're there to help you and do whatever we possibly can to keep you safe. So the socialization, like we've learned all morning, is so valuable. So during a home visit, our home visits generally take about an hour. And socialization is definitely part of that. We believe that people are able to implement so many of the suggestions that we leave because we took the time to understand what they needed, what worked for them, and then to offer appropriate suggestions. The benefits to our volunteers, that very important part of our program is that this program gives them a unique opportunity to utilize the skills that they've learned throughout their career to effectively help their community. There's lots of one-on-one mentoring that happens during every home visit. And our volunteers have found that we learn too when we're there visiting with somebody and they tell us how they live. We've learned so many things, and it's a two-way reciprocal street. And it's their way of giving back to the community, the benefit to the community. So Remembering When is a gateway program for so many other services. We refer people to other home healthcare agencies, the health authority, or exercise programs. And this is a gateway program that can be used so effectively, and that is so effectively. We are finding that when healthcare is received when we can give them the appropriate referrals, that timely interventions happen and people are helped way quicker. So what are the benefits to the fire department? I put this one last because really it is last on our list, but you know what? These home visits especially and the group presentations allow us to promote that fire safety message, and it allows us to get into people's homes to check their smoke alarms and discuss how they actually are going to get out and what their home escape plan looks like. So if you imagine, we have some very complex cases that we visit. And if you think of somebody that has home care, put them to bed in the evening and actually get them out of bed in the morning, what would be their home escape plan if they had a fire during that time? So this program allows us to work together with people to come up with those plans, which is so critical for their safety and for our ability to be able to rescue them efficiently and effectively. The program has also improved firefighter morale. So it might seem a little bit odd, but when our firefighters were going out and lifting people, knowing that they needed help and having no way to get them that help, it was completely frustrating for them. And so now they know that they recommend, the recommendations are out there. They can contact me. We will get the people the help that they need. And so many times when I'm out at the fire stations, they'll tell me, you know what, thank you for doing that program. Remembering when really, really works. So my question, my takeaway for you today is, how can you make remembering when work in your community? Now, this is how remembering when looks in Saskatoon, but each community can be different. So I encourage you to take a look at this program, but also to work with your fire departments. They are the boots on the ground, and they are a resource that can be valuable for every fall prevention program out there. So thank you so much for your time. I'm going to pass it back to Kimberly now.
Great. Thank you, Dory, and thank you to all three of our speakers. We have some questions and answers. And just for time's sake, Christine was nice enough to answer a few of the questions. So for those of you who did ask a question, she might have, it might be in the answered section, and I will read those once I've gone through the questions not answered. So the first one is to Christine. Are your videos available to the public? How did you navigate getting approval for posting the videos? It's something that we had challenges with in BC at Fraser Health.
Yes. Can you hear me? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It is posted that you can go to YouTube to Prairie Mountain Health, Stepping Up with Confidence. I think the link, does that show to everybody, that the link that I'm seeing that Nancy Traguna has posted?
Yeah, it's in the chat box. So if people go to
so that if they open up their chat box, you can see the link there. But you can also click, the PowerPoints will be available from Parachute when the conference is over. And so you can click there also. To answer your piece about getting the permission, we went through our process of allowing photography and video, had our leaders and our participants sign the forms that we have through our policies, and they permitted us to share those. So I hope that answers the question. We just went through our regional policy for that permission.
Great, thanks, Christine. Next question again is for Christine. Curious about the choice of the ABC scale to measure balance confidence, which doesn't ask about falls specifically, but rather confidence in maintaining balance, rather than a standardized and validated fear of falling tool, such as the falls efficacy scale.
And that's a great question. I'm definitely an amateur at this, so I'm not a researcher by background. So perhaps that may have been a better choice. We have continued to use the ABC scale to kind of get that perception of how people feel doing tasks, and maybe it's a little bit of the OT in me wanting to see how people feel in those everyday tasks, except for the escalators. There's no escalators in Western Manitoba except for one, and so that's a bit of a poor question for us of the 16, but certainly that may have been valid, and it gets me something to go and look back on, is maybe we want to add in that efficacy scale.
Great. Thank you. Another one for Christine, and then I think we'll start going to some of the other speakers. Do you operate this program in rural settings where isolation of older adults can be even greater, Christine?
We do. A lot of our communities are very small communities. I mean, like a couple hundred people will live in some of these communities. They will have a rec center or a drop-in center. post office and the grocery store, but they're still running there. So it depends where you can find volunteers that are interested. And so we, like you said there, Dory, the boots on the ground, and we seek out people. Someone hears of a grandma or has a grandma out there who would like to get together. We hear of a group of ladies, and we kind of start to get them to work together and give them the resources. And I guess I do say ladies, I pointed out that we only had women, and that was a lot of our discussion too, of how do we get the men out, but that's another discussion for another day.
Thank you. I believe we've answered Rhonda's question about the YouTube link, which is now posted. And then Rhonda's other question was for Dory, and there's been a few questions for Dory asking about seeing that video of how to getting up from a fall. So Dory, is that available for people to see somewhere?
Yes, it is. I've got the link in the chat. So it's on our website, saskatoon.ca. And if you go to Fire and Emergency Services after that, and then choose Remembering When, there's the two links at the bottom of the page. I'll just do a little clip. Kimberly, you were there when we made the videos, but the actor is my dad, and he was 90 years old when we did it. And I find that so many people appreciate that we didn't use a 30-year-old. They appreciate somebody that they know might have had to work on getting up as well.
Okay. Dory, another question for you is whether you use a lift assist device such as a Razor, Camel, or Elk.
We don't use those. We have a Camel, but found that it's not that effective for what we need to do. So a lot of times by the time the fire department gets called in, somebody's stuck between the toilet and the tub or someplace in tight circumstances. And so they aren't always that effective. And we found that you still need to work hard to balance people on top of them. So our firefighters have their techniques that they use to lift people. You know, they are very effective. My husband didn't believe that I could get him up, and I could. So, but yeah, you know, those are good tools, and we actually recommend them for personal care homes and places like that where we do lifts, that knowing that if they had those tools, like a Camel or an Elk, that they would be able to help the people up themselves. So that's my answer. That's helpful.
Thank you. Thank you, Dory. And my apologies to Sherry. I guess Sherry was asking about the program in rural settings where isolation of older adults can be greater, was actually for Phyllis. My apologies, Sherry. It's hard to tell which questions are for who. So Phyllis, a question to you is, do you operate this program in rural settings where isolation of older adults can be greater?
Yes, we do. And our network of franchises is in defined territory. So every franchise has specific area that they cover and they reach. I'll say it is harder to reach people in rural communities, but they do, because our caregivers probably are living in those same rural communities. So the network can stretch far and wide as far as a caregiver working for Home Instead in any given small community can also be readily available to serve a client in that very same community. Does that answer the question?
Yes, I think it does, Phyllis. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We've gotten a couple questions asking if people will get a copy of these presentations. These are being recorded, and so I'm under the understanding that Parachute will make these available for attendees. Dory, another question for you. Are there other programs like yours in other jurisdictions in Canada? And we're running out of time here, so maybe just one or two more questions. So Dory, if you want to answer that one.
There is programs in other jurisdictions. They often look quite different than ours. You know, we have one of the leading programs in Canada, but knowing that the programs are out there for fire departments and doing the fall prevention work that fire departments can do, is I would encourage you to encourage your fire department to take part in this program.
Great. Once again, thank you for the speakers. We are out of time. So I'm gonna wrap up and close up here. There are quite a few links that are popping up in the chat box. If your speaker that you have a question for wasn't able to get to the question, then please feel free to contact the speakers at a later date. That would be fabulous. I'm sure they'd all be interested in hearing from you and answering your questions. So thank you everyone for joining us for our first presentation of day 2, the Canadian Fall Prevention Virtual Conference. Please ensure that you complete the post-presentation survey, and we will see you back today at 3 p.m. So that's 2 hours from now, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our second set of presentations for the day. So thank you everyone, and once again, thank you to the speakers, and you should see the session survey pop up on your screen right now. If you could make sure you fill that out, that would be lovely. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.